Yo, what's up, family? It's your boy, Pastor Ray, aka Pastor Ramon. Glad to be with you all this evening. This is the Well Encounter Live. And if you're with us, then I want you to go ahead and like this post. Let us know that you're here, so make a comment. If you're on YouTube, you can go ahead and comment, let us know that you're here. And then take a moment and share this amongst your folks. I don't know if you got to email to somebody or you got to text somebody or you just got to listen. Matter of fact, if you share it, tag a few folks when you share it. So like if you're on Facebook, like put it on your Facebook page and then like share it to the folks, like tag them, be like, look, I need you to watch this. I need you to tune in, okay? Like seriously. All right. So listen, welcome again to the Well Live. We're just really happy that you're here. And I, of course, am ecstatic that you're here. Listen, tonight we are finishing out our series, which we have done for the whole month. It's, of course, we've been celebrating Easter in the month of April. And so we title our themed Our Encounters Resurrection Chronicles. And tonight we are finishing that off with our title Rising Above Poverty. Rising Above Poverty. That's right. We've already done grief. We've already done grief, and we've already done our first one. But tonight we're talking about rising above poverty. Look, if you've ever gone through anything, if you ever have been on your lowest, if you ever have been at your last penny, look, why don't you just type in the chat, amen. Like if you've ever been down in that place of poverty, I want you to just go ahead and write in the chat, amen. I've been there. I've been there. I know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? But tonight I want to remind everybody, first of all, if you ask, like, what is the Well? Well, it is a creative arts, conscious awareness, faith community. We're a community. We want to be everywhere, doing everything we can with our community of folks that just love on us. We want to love on you. We want you to love back on us, and that's what the Well is. How do you experience the Well? How do you encounter the Well? I'm glad you asked. You encounter the Well, you become the Well, and then you emerge and share the Well. Look, those words are synonymous with, like, you encounter Jesus, you become more like Jesus, you emerge and share Jesus. You encounter love, you become love, you emerge and share love. That's all it is. What's up, Pastor Curtis? I see that you're on. Thanks for speaking, brother. Go ahead and share this on your page, man, and let everybody know they need to watch. You can tag a few folks when you share it. Um, and then everything that we do, every encounter that we have, every encounter you have with the Well, we wanted to lead down a path, right? We don't just do it for nothing. We wanted to lead you down a path of righteousness. And that path, we believe there are 5 P's, 5 critical P's that we want every single encounter you have with us to lead you down. And those P's are as such that those P's on that path are purpose, promise, peace, passion, and power. That's right. Passion, purpose, promise, peace, and power. Everything that we do should lead you down a path. Every encounter you have with us, every encounter you have with God, it should lead you down that path. All right, so that's just a little bit about who we are. I am super ecstatic because tonight we have some of our squad with us. Of course, Miss Nikki's going to be with us. Of course, Pastor Harrison's going to be with us. But then we have AnaYelsi and Matt, the dynamic duo and couple who is in charge of our justice team. They're going to be with us tonight. And then we got this amazing, super talented young lady who's going to be with us tonight, who is a entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and then she also just happens to manage an up and rising superstar. So without further ado, make sure you're following the Amplify Network who are broadcasting this. And I'm going to ask super producer Jackie to go ahead and bring in our amazing panelists tonight. Super producer Jackie, can you bring them in? Yo, what's up, family? What's up, family? It's so good to see everybody. Listen, I see that, and I just want to give a shout out to my brother Jawan. Jawan, listen, I'm so glad to see your name pop up tonight. I have missed you, man, so I'm glad to see you back with us, one of our Wellians. But we have an amazing panelist, guys. It's so good to see you. I'm just going to be quiet and let Brother Harrison say hello to the people, followed by Miss Nikki, and then I'll come back and ask the rest of the folks to say something.
Wait, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we
Yes, we
can.
can hear you.
Are we on? Okay, the saints are here. The church is not quiet. Amen. All right, great.
Amen.
Uh, and good evening, good morning, good day. It is really good to see y'all always. I'm going to start this way. Let's pray really quickly. Father God, we thank you and we honor you because you're great. We honor you because you're God. And first and foremost, before we ask you for anything, we want to take just a moment to tell you thank you for everything. Thank you so much for life and for health and for strength, for a reasonable portion of all those things, for the material things, even. God, thank you so much for a family and for friends. Thank you for a well. Thank you for the well. Father, thank you for Jesus. Thank you so much for what this season means for us. Thank you for these seasons of transitions, but understanding that through it all, not only are you with us, but because you're with us, we have resurrection power. Forgive us for misstepping. Forgive us for stepping aside and not doing the things that were in your perfect will. Dear God, we confess those, and you said in your word that you're faithful to forgive us, and we believe that to be so. And our final prayer, dear Lord, is that you bless this time and this space, that you do what you do best, and that's be God. You are killing it. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. You are really doing an amazing job. I just want to let you know we are grateful. We are so grateful for you, Lord. Oh, man. We appreciate you. Let this time help somebody and change somebody's life. Don't let us leave the same way that we came. Let something be different and let us be
Amen.
in a more positive space. It's in Jesus' name that we pray this prayer. We say amen.
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 And the
Amen.
church says amen.
Amen. Yeah.
Amen.
Well,
I
listen.
yield my
Go ahead,
time,
Nikki.
Pastor Chairman.
That's it. Listen. Well, listen. You don't pray this out. Pray this through, Minister Nikki. You just want to share a little bit with the people.
What's up, everybody? Good evening. Y'all know me. I'm Miss Nikki. Glad to be here for another wonderful night at the well. And yeah, I'm just ready to get it started. I'm very interested in this conversation. Let's get it. Let's go.
All right. Well, listen. We're not going to go too much further. I do know that AnaYelsi and Matt, you guys have met them before. They're part of our justice team. AnaYelsi, Matt, you want to share just a little bit?
Sure. So I'm AnaYelsi. That's Matt. In case that was in any way confusing. um, yeah. I don't know what to share. I feel like y'all have heard from us a few times, so there's nothing very exciting to share. Is there anything new?
We just got 2 new pet rats.
Oh, we have 2 new baby rats named Bruno and Felix, like Encanto.
Bruno,
Everyone makes Nikki, your first face. That's the face everyone makes. They're like, rats? They're cute. That's our
interesting.
new.
It's interesting choice.
Not where I come from. We run from those.
Yeah.
Well, listen, that being said, we'll yield to the young lady who just made the comment. The last person that is going to introduce herself, but definitely not the least, Miss Alease, who I've made an acquaintance with. I've met her just a few weeks ago, or maybe about a month ago now, and she's just an amazing person. But Miss Alease, why don't you just kind of share who you are, what you do, and let people know a little bit about yourself.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here. I think, Pastor, you are wonderful. That's why I'm here, because of your beautiful spirit and how you love God. It just, we just connected. On the set, he was shooting my daughter's video, which leads me to let you know I'm a manager in the entertainment business. I manage my daughter, which is on her way to superstardom. She's pretty famous now, been in a couple movies, music, and all that. But also I come from a background of management, ownership, entrepreneurship in the beauty field, and working for different, manufacturers and things like that. So I've been out there, I'm a woman of a particular age now, so I would love to share my wisdom and the things that I have done along the way to inspire other young ladies in the business.
That's
and just
awesome.
young
Listen,
ladies all over. Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you
That's
being here.
wonderful.
Listen, I know that your daughter is rising to be a global superstar, but I say, listen, you can't get a global superstar if you don't have a mom superstar. So props to you for
Oh, thank
something
you. Thank you.
amazing and something right, because that meant you did some great stuff. And listen, if y'all haven't checked out LA Love, the boss's stuff, you need to, because she is amazing. She's upcoming. She's uprising. They share with me some projects they've got in the works, and I just
Yes.
can't wait. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
We're partners.
But
That's my partner. Yes.
Aw,
love
she's
it.
beautiful.
Love
She's very beautiful.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Love it. And so tonight we're talking about poverty. We're talking about rising above poverty. Man. So Miss Nikki and Harrison, I know you guys have some stories. I know I have some stories. But before we dig into our everyone, I just kind of want to talk a little bit. AnaYelsi Matt, Miss Alease. I mean, you guys have seen poverty, but you've also seen what it's like to come out of poverty. Why don't you just take a moment and kind of share your story? I mean, AnaYelsi and Matt, you have it in a way that's interesting because Matt, I mean, I'm guessing you didn't quite experience it, but you sure have married someone who has experienced it. And, you know, there's always the jokes about, like, I mean, some people are like, you know, I grew up with bologna sandwiches where, you know, other people are like, not. And some people say, well, you shouldn't date anybody who's gone through what you've gone through. AnaYelsi and Matt, I'm just wondering, what does that look like? Like, AnaYelsi, what was your life like from then to now, just growing up and where you are, you know, from then to where you are now?
Well, I feel like the first thing that popped in my mind when you said some people have had to have bologna sandwiches, I was like, oh, they have bologna? Because we were just having a conversation with some folks recently, and some of us have, you know, had hard times and some of us have not. And we were talking about like the go-to, which one is the potato chip sandwich. It's just some potato chips smushed between bread and you pretend it's a meal. And the other one, when you want to get real fancy, is just some cinnamon, sugar, and butter on a piece of toast. Which is
come on here, Harrison. Come on here.
Listen,
Harrison,
still good.
I'm sorry, you hit me in my condo.
Wow.
You know what I'm talking about. It's so good. But my point being is sometimes I'll share stuff like that with Matt, and you don't have the same point of reference. You know, like, and I let you speak for yourself, but like in terms of your family's background, but it's definitely different from me growing up. So I didn't have, really long story short, I wasn't living in poverty when I was really young. I ended up in the system, the foster care system. So I was a ward of the state. So, you know, your basic needs are being met, but it's a specific kind of upbringing. It's a very institutionalized upbringing. And then I aged out when I was 17. And it was just like, bye. And 17-year-old me did not have a Miss Alease to show me, like, this is how you take care of yourself. This is how you conduct yourself as a young woman. This is how you know, do basic life skills. And so I was 17 figuring out for myself. And I spent, honestly, 17 until my late 20s in varying levels of poverty. So sometimes I had a little bit of income. Sometimes I had an apartment to myself, and sometimes I was sleeping on the floor in the back room of someone's place, or in a motel, or on whatever couch I could find. So it really depended on the year. I had lots of times where it was, you know, I didn't go home. The way I explain it to people is I was in college ministry. I had all these friends who were living normal lives, and they didn't know how poor I was, and they didn't really know didn't have a safety net. And so I would go and hang out with them, and I'd go to class, and I'd go to my job after class, and I'd wait till it was dark enough to go home and go to sleep because the power wasn't on. And I'd steal a can of soup from the church kitchen, like just straight up steal soup from the church kitchen, because that's how I lived for like a couple of years. Off of cream of mushroom soup, hate it now. So like that was my life. I'll stop there. Yours is a little different.
Yeah, a little different. Yeah, grew up in like white middle class suburbia. And I think it's really interesting kind of seeing how we're both employed, we both have good jobs, we're not worried about money, but like seeing how, just the different ways we approach, we got some extra money this month, like, what do we do with it? I'm like, let's go have something nice to eat. And AnaYelsi's like, no, let's squirrel it away somewhere. Not right. On the that sort of, that mindset. I think also, I don't want to call it guilt, but like I think sometimes, certainly for AnaYelsi, there's this sort of an almost uncomfortableness with having nice things. Like we recently moved into an apartment which is 1 bedroom above ground. It's like, bare minimum, like this is what you would need to live.
Nicest place I've ever lived in.
But in comparison to our like 600 square foot basement with no windows that we've lived in for the past 3 years, it feels like luxury. But I think there was a, it was hard at the start for you to kind of be okay with that. Like, why do we have this nice place when there are people who are, literally struggling?
Well, we could do it less.
Yeah. And that's interesting because you guys have this dynamic of like, I mean, it's almost like, a different language. People don't, to me, right? Like, it's kind of like I'm sure there were different languages you had to get used to some extent. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Matt, you were probably very, I mean, in the true sense of the word, kind of ignorant to
Yeah.
some of the things that AnaYelsi would probably even be talking about. And so for me, what I hear, I think about code switching. I don't know if any of y'all but I
Oh
think
yeah.
about, right, like, you know what I'm saying? Like if I go somewhere and I'm like, yo, can you? I saw this like Instagram not too long ago, and it was like things that colored people or people of color, people of color understand that white people might not, but like it was also right from I grew up differently, so like they were like, you could put this sentence together and totally understand it. So if I said something like, Nikki, did you go over there and did you peek what I saw? Because I realized that they're not putting down what we putting down, but when they put down what we put down, I had to reach for my hammer because they didn't understand that my hammer was gonna go off if they kept it, and it was like, but I
Matt, translate that. I want Matt to translate that.
I understood like the whole thing. I was like, yo, this is crazy. But I knew like there were people around me that probably would not have any clue or idea what was happening.
Right.
So I'm just like, I wonder, was it like that? Like, do you all have a communication where like there are just different things that you had to like, no, Matt, this is what I mean, like, or like Matt, you're like, AnaYelsi, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind me sharing the recent story, check. Yeah, I'm sure he's cool with it. So in general, like my relationship to money is a traumatized relationship, and so like it doesn't matter like if I know salute. It doesn't matter if I know all of our bills are paid, if I know that nobody's coming for us. If my phone rings unexpectedly or the doorbell rings, my first reaction is, oh, well, I can't say what my first is. Oh no, salute. And like, what did I do? Who's coming for me? Kind of thing. And because of the trauma, the other way in which it really affects us is, and I'm putting myself on blast here just by saying this, but like my ethics line is in a different place than Matt's is. And that's because I've spent so much of my life in survival mode. And so that became really evident recently, and I'll try and keep the story brief. Oh, this little baby me. Sorry, that distracted me. But Matt hurt his ankle when he was in England. The bill for that came in, and it was $30-something thousand, and we were like, my God, we'll never get out of this hole. What are we going to do? And not knowing if the U.S. insurance would pay it since he was overseas when it happened. Anyhow, they randomly somehow an insurance company did the gracious thing, sent us a check with his name on it, and we're just like, here you go, and just that's it.
That's
so
amazing.
Matt's reaction was, I'll take this check and I'll give the check to the bank because that is what every dime was sent to me for. My reaction was, and this is where I'm putting myself on blast, what are my legal consequences and how likely am I to get in trouble if I put most of the money over there, but take some of the money and deal with some of the things I got to Right. And when I said that to him, he was a little horrified. We had to have a long conversation about like survival, and like you don't always worry about what's the most right. You're worried about like where's the most risk, and like how can I take care of myself with the least amount of risk. And that's how I looked at that check, and he looked at it with like, this is to pay a specific debt. Meanwhile, I was like, bump the insurance company and the hospital. I don't care less. And I'd be arrested.
We all been
so we got around. Long story short.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to invite. I know Nikki, Harrison, you guys probably got some stuff. I do want to jump over real quick to Miss Alease. Miss Alease, you're listening to this. I'm sure you are listening to probably both of them. I mean, you have come a long way in your own journey. Like I said, philanthropist, entrepreneur, manager, right? But you've had some humble beginnings.
Oh yeah.
What does it look like to go from, a place of I think you've had some family and some things with your family. What does it look like to travel that road from going from there to now?
Well, I'll
right?
tell you,
like,
go ahead, finish. Can't wait to jump in. I love the energy, but
no, it's cool. Please, like, but I guess that is my question, right? Like to go from there to now, you know what money looks like now. You know what wealth looks like now. You know what it means to live comfortably, but you weren't always there, right? I mean, what
Right,
does that
right.
role look like? I mean, and then to now have a daughter who's rising to superstardom, but you weren't always there. What does that look like for people who are like, oh, I don't know if I can get through this, right? I mean, some people think, oh, stardom just happens overnight. Like they're like, I mean, you've had to travel that road. What does that look
Right.
like?
Well, I will say this, guys. I'm from Cherry Hill. My mom and dad had got divorced, so we came out of the county to Cherry Hill. That was culture shock for me, coming from Glen Burnie, Cherry Hill, then we all moved back. But one thing my mother, she did what she had to do. My dad was in the streets, but he was always a loving father, not a good husband. Went to school in the city, but the one thing that my mother instilled in me is that we live here, but you don't live outside. So the behaviors I couldn't take on. So to me, I didn't even know we were at that level because mom worked and provided, and my dad came every weekend, and we had allowance and everything. So we were kind of like hood rich, I guess, like a little bit more. We got cars at 16, but we worked at 14 and saved all our money and did all of that. But I did have peers, that, like you said, eating ketchup sandwiches and different things. And I had a loving mother that prepared meals and things like that, and we shared a lot with different kids and things like that. So we were always the home that did feed people, So I'm thank
Right.
God my mother, she didn't come from poverty, but she had incidences in life where we had to adapt to what it really was, And thank God my dad, he was in the streets, but thank God he was still coming through, when he wasn't incarcerated and here and there. But we're very close. I love my dad, my daddy's girl, but he wasn't always available to everything. My mother was the backbone to mostly everything. So where that got me at 14, I got a job because I wanted more. If you wanted designer jeans, you had to pay for them. If you wanted anything additional, yes, we had clean clothes. Yes, my mother worked in beauty, so she did the hair. We had all that, but she wasn't going to buy you those extra things that you want to acquire because it's a trend. So we were encouraged, and I thank my mom for going to work and struggling hard to make ends meet because that instilled in me. That's what I.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, I think she froze, huh?
Yeah.
You gotta refresh.
And froze in like the perfect pose too. I love it. Like for real. Like I've never frozen that nice before. Like I go back and watch these.
Right.
Oh my God, this is so bad. Like I am so
She might not
happy
know
for her.
she
Making the most
froze.
awkward face, eyes, mouth all distorted, looking all crazy.
Yeah.
Mid
It's
sneeze.
not okay. It's not okay. Well, I guess Nikki. So let's keep the conversation. No, go. Well, listen. Go ahead, Pastor Reverend.
Yeah, no.
Doctor.
I was gonna say how is it sounding for y'all? I mean, what is you think is you're listening to everybody, man?
It's relatable.
I felt AnaYelsi when she said her relationship to money was traumatized. Because I was sitting here listening to y'all, and I'm just thinking back through childhood. Like,
Okay, guys,
we
I'm
didn't
sorry.
have
I don't know
a
what
lot.
happened.
Oh yeah, you made it back.
She's
I don't know
back.
what happened. It just went out.
Listen.
I don't know what happened.
Do it.
But I did what you said it was going to do. I was trying to refresh it and do all this stuff. But just to say that in my heart, when I had kids, I didn't want to, it drove me to say I want more for my children.
Mm-hmm.
So that experience, I said, okay, I'm going to work hard. I got married at 22, and I wanted that mother and father, children, dog, house. Okay. So when I married my husband, he made good money. He was straight, everything went well. But then problems came later, but we won't get into that. But getting into what I want for my kids now, they didn't come from poverty or low income because I worked hard to provide for them. And to the point where it made me overwork. To my mother said, can you slow down and put some time in? And all I'm worried about is getting to the goals and, doing that. So it can have a great reaction to you, but it could also be, double-edged sword there. So I wanted more for them, and I didn't want them to have the same struggles I have. We all have struggles, so they had different struggles, but I never wanted to be financial. So I teach them about the dollar, the respect of the money, how you need to save, the financial literacy, how to be an entrepreneur. Both my kids are entrepreneurs, you know, and things like that. To be self-sufficient, don't rely on a man. If you break up, your lifestyle won't change. So I go the other direction to make sure you live the lifestyle that you can afford.
Yeah.
And that's what it done for me. And being exposed, and the way I got through the other side of life and seeing others and dreaming big is when my mom paid for me to go to Barbizon, and I realized I was different. They had these people come from money, you know, the girls that were in there, they're spoiled, they're having hissy fits. I'm just happy to be here and learn big things and be, you know, learn different foods and learn a different lifestyle. So that was an eye opener for me.
And for those who don't know, right, Barbizon is the school that, right, is around for to enhance or share with women how to be in beautification, you know, apply makeup, do your, you know, and so you're saying that when you went there, you recognized that almost everybody else came from money, and that's what made you different. You stood out because you did not necessarily come from money.
Yes, I was neat and clean and everything, but in my mind, I was feeling like I didn't know a lot of things that was other than where I was in my life with my culture. So it opened me up to many different lifestyles.
So then I want to open it up to everybody on this question. What I heard, right? I hear AnaYelsi sort of talking about, you know, making the decision between paying a bill or putting money in this place and not putting it into this place because these people want to get it somewhere down the line, if never, at some point. I hear you, Miss Alease, talking about, right, like, do I, you know, I don't want my family, especially my children, to go through what I had to go through. There's this thing out there, and I just want to know how everybody feels about it. Some people say poverty is a mindset. I just want to open this up. How do you all feel about this comment that poverty is a mindset? Is it? Like, and if you're watching, like, again, this is Rising Above
I don't
Poverty.
believe that.
If you're online with us, please comment, let us know. Like, you can answer. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, even on Instagram, let us know. Is poverty a mindset? I'd love to hear from you all as well. Yeah, please, anybody, jump in.
Yeah, I personally, I disagree with that statement, you know, on many different levels. You know, sometimes I even hate to hear it because of the way that it's used. But it can be a mindset, but in a different way. Like, I look at it as it's a mindset when you are spending all of your money to show that you got it. To me, that's having a poverty mindset. You know what I'm saying? Because you're trying to prove so hard that, oh, I got money, you know, Gucci down, you know, Louis this, Louis that, you know, and you spending thousands of dollars to look the part so that people can think that you have money. You know what I'm saying?
Validated by that,
Exactly. To me, that's a poverty mindset.
That's a poverty mindset,
That I can get behind.
Right. But to say that somebody has a poverty mindset because they just literally don't have it financially and it is hard for them to get there or to come up because of, you know, systematic reasons, or, you know, because they just do not have that
the tools to even know how. They don't even have
the tools to even know how, because I mean, I can be honest with, you know, within myself. I truly don't know how to be an entrepreneur. I know how to work. You know, I can work my butt off. I've worked since college, and even before then. Like, I started working in high school, but I know how to work like crazy. But to actually, and I have plenty of ideas, but to actually, like, come up with a business and to start a business and to like grow that business, like, I have no clue how to do that at all. So
that
for me,
that question of poverty, your face was like mine. I was like, a mindset? I'm not sure if that, like that was like so many levels you could approach that at. Because I think people
Yeah.
are born in poverty and don't even know it because it's a way of life for them.
Yes.
So if they
Yes.
don't have anything in the mind to take them out somewhere else or never been anywhere else, they're going to live that lifestyle forever. But it doesn't
Yep.
mean they're not happy. Poor doesn't make you sad. Rich doesn't make you happy. It's it's where you are with yourself and God, God first, of course. You have to find inner peace. So being poverty mindset, if you don't know, you don't know, and it takes a lot of skills and other mentors and people and exposure even to think different. But if you never go anywhere and never be around different people or anything, your dream is pretty much limited.
Absolutely. I can agree with that. There are plenty of people in other countries who literally have next to nothing and are some of the happiest people in the world.
They're dancing,
And I was about to say, I
life.
think there's a distinction between poverty and poor. I think there is a clear distinction between, and let me say, to my background is that growing up, we didn't have a whole lot. I mean, not a whole lot at all. My mom and dad had some kids, had 2 kids, got divorced, got married again, had me, eventually got divorced, and my mom was raising 3 boys. Not that he wasn't there, he absolutely was. And my father was absolutely present. But that to say that she was not always in the best financial situation, having to deal with that at the age that she was and the context that she was. But I don't remember missing many meals, if any. I never knew I was poor. I never knew, let me not even say poor. I never knew that there was lack. I was a happy child. She made sure that. So I was broke, maybe, but I wasn't poor. And that's where I think we talk about happenings and happiness, joy inside, right? A relationship with something beyond just yourself, because yourself is what you see. Yourself is where you are. Something beyond you can pull you out of where you are into a much more positive space, a much more open area that you can see more, that you can experience more. And I feel like a poor mindset will have you in a place that you really can't see more.
No, and I think that you had love. You had love. You felt loved by your parents. Everyone's not so quite fortunate. I had love, regardless of what you didn't have, and you didn't have that big meal tonight. You felt the love that your mother put in to make sure you had something to eat, and things like that. Yes, they had their struggles, but you ate every night. It wasn't everything you wanted, but the love that they poured into you, that's what mattered, and that's why we were happy.
I think that's a really important. Oh, I'm so sorry, Ramon. Go ahead.
No, please, AnaYelsi. Yeah. No, go ahead, please.
Well, I just going to say, I think, Ms. Alease, that's a really important distinction that you just made. Because I'm listening to all of this, and I'm like, oh, but I don't agree with all of y'all. But I realize part of it, I think, is, to be frank, I had my situation where going on when it comes to to not having enough money or resources. I didn't have family. I didn't have loved ones. I didn't have a safety net. I didn't have people who were alongside me, experiencing it with me. And so when as I'm listening to but you can still be happy, because I'm like, nah, man, I was effing depressed day in and day out. And I was
and that's
exhausted.
The differences in the different situations.
But
I commend you. I want to know how you got the strength. I'm interested in how you got the strength to become who you are now. That's amazing to me, from where you said you've been and now where you are, and you're a happy person. That is amazing. I'm so floored that I'd be interested in listening to you, because you can inspire a lot of people.
I'm just stubborn, that's all.
You're stubborn. I'm saying that is amazing. I commend you. I mean, you are something else.
I mean, so listen, on that note though, right? I mean, and granted, I did grow up pretty upper middle class. But I think for me, it's so opposite. So people would say, what's your biggest fear? I think for me, right, people don't know this, but a big fear of mine, and this held me back, was that I grew up pretty upper middle class. My grandmother taught at the school that I went to in elementary school. But the school that I was at, there were a lot of lower income, more poverty, so lower social economic students there. There were a few of us who had teachers who were parents at the school. Also, in black people times when I grew up, it was like you're light skinned, so you're light skinned, and automatically people assumed you were cocky, or right, you felt like you were better because you had better hair or whatever that looked like. And I think for me,
I'm like,
it was
that's a double-edged
right,
sword
right.
there. But anyway.
Yeah. No, listen, I know. But I'm gonna tell you. So for me, I would dumb myself down. Like I did not. I didn't. I felt like being middle class because everyone was like, and they always expected like, oh, you must have like a huge house, a huge mansion. Your grandmother's a teacher, Because when you're a kid, you just think that way, right? And so
Yeah, you did.
I think I was on the opposite side. I was like, well, let me dumb myself down. So I was constantly trying to make sure that people didn't think a certain way of me. But that sort of hindered me a little bit too, because I wouldn't live into my fullest capacity. Because I was always like, well, I don't want to appear to be right like more than somebody else. So it's
Oh, yeah.
interesting because yeah, I didn't have the poverty place or the place of being poor, but I definitely had a place of still feeling like I didn't belong. But it was for
Right.
me because I wasn't poor, so I was like, like how do I fit in
Right.
with the folks who are around
You
me,
wanted to fit in.
So
You wanted to fit in. Yeah. You wanted to fit
yeah,
in.
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm just
Yeah.
I
curious. Everybody has kind of come from this place to where you are now. How much does faith, right? Like how much does your faith and your spirituality play in that role of I've gone from point A to point B in life, right? Like, how much did you rely on that, and did you even know anything about faith or spirituality when you were coming through those obstacles?
mm,
I played around with my faith. I'm gonna be honest with you. I knew God. I went to Bible school. My mom made us, and I didn't find God for myself other than your upbringing. You're supposed to do this. You say the prayer. You do the routine. It was all routine. I found God in my marriage, like really was reaching for Him and saying the Lord's Prayer and begging to get to know Him one on one. And so, as I was a young woman, around 22, for me, um, I seeked Him out, and I fell short sometimes too, not giving Him the glory. Um, just flying high. I made lots of money. Sometimes when you're young, you'll sway away because you think you're doing it and all this stuff, and you got all these riches and cars and all of that. But then something will humble you, and
Mm,
it'll put you on your knees. Okay, so He was always
mm-hmm,
there for me, but I wasn't always giving Him all of me. So once I developed
mm-hmm,
my relationship with God, probably around 28, after I wanted to get a divorce and really get into myself and my children, and things like that. Being a single parent, definitely God was at the forefront for me for the rest. He's number one in my life every day. I don't care what goes wrong. I know He's there. Pulls you through. He didn't say you're going to endure it. So I rely on my spirituality 100%, especially in the entertainment business. Like I
mm,
need Him more than ever
yeah,
because there's so many distractions, so many different people, a lot going on. And I'm raising girls, and my young man now, raise a grandson from my oldest, and having him from birth, and so I rely on him 110%, 100.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just a quick note. Jawan has this comment that I gotta read. Jawan is one of our wealthiest. He said, "My mother made sure to let me know young that even if she had money, I was broke. I learned early." He said, "I learned early to provide and take care of myself with a strong value of family, but it's what defined my relationship with money and with God." I love that, Jawan.
Love it.
Love it, love
yep.
it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
It's
Thank Miss Alease, that's so true. Miss Alease, before I move from you, speak a little bit about that, right? Like you've got a daughter who's now in the entertainment industry. She's up and coming.
yes.
She's a rapper. She's got her videos out there. She's looking to be in movies and film and whatnot. Oh my
She is.
gosh, how much? Because people don't. I mean, you think about TLC. Tony Braxton, so many of the celebrities who've gotten there and they did not handle their money correctly, and then had to file for bankrupt, whatever. How do you secure yourself in that place, right? Of how do you keep your faith alive in a place that I'm sure tugs on it all the time, and you're behind the scenes. So like,
yes. Well, my kids, I basically, it's God first, and we have Bible study together and everything. It's a fast-paced world. She's a sexy girl. She's all this, all that, all that. But really, when she's not working, she is a homebody, recluse, stay home. She doesn't really. She's never been to clubs, never been to parties, and you would see her and think she's done it all. She doesn't do drugs. She doesn't drink like that. She has, occasions, but she loves the art. So that's what she does. But God is number one in her life. We have Bible study together. We talk about women things together. It helps keep her grounded. And when she's ever feeling low, I let her know, let's get together and pray together. So we're very close. And she understands that she has to have that foundation, in this world today. It's tough, So I'm just so blessed that my kids did listen, like they listened to the advice. You can't force them. God cuts them loose at 12. I tell them, I'm responsible for you. But after a certain age, you're responsible for you. I never tell them no. I just always teach them, if I'm not around, always rely on what would God do in a situation when you're faced like that? Right from wrong. You understand? So the choices you make, you have to live with. Mm-hmm. They could go either way. So if you find yourself, and Alea tell me, Mom, I'm so glad you spoke to me on so many levels, because I found myself in situations that I could hear you, and I would go into prayer really quick, and God will come to you if you just call on him at the time of need. So that's the way I raised them.
Yeah. That's good.
That's good. It's really, it's simple, but it's deep, because where we all come from, it's easy to do the wrong thing or think the wrong thing, but being grounded with God, I just find it to be the number one for us. It works no matter what the situation is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Harrison, you were smiling over there, man. What you thinking about, brother? What? Harrison had a smile when you were talking, Miss Alease. I don't know what it was, though.
I don't know. I just...
Listen, it was so nostalgic of a moment. I was like, man, I literally heard Mary Brooks just right there. I saw her across the table, like, and it felt so warm, but it spoke to the care that, while I'm sure I could probably call her right now and ask, what did some of those moments feel like when you wanted to do some things for us but couldn't?
Yes, and when she
shares, you still chose to show up in the ways that you could.
Absolutely.
And there have been so many moments in my life where I've had to stop and just thank my mother publicly and just shower her with love, because she was not only important, she was impactful. And a lot of the ways that I love people today, coming to DC 8 years ago, come August, with no family up here, having to build family, having to build a home. And not even a stable one. Again, 26, you're moving from place to place. So having to find your space. I hear her in the background saying, all right, now, that may not be the best decision. Doesn't mean I always listen, but it does mean I'm prepared for what's coming.
There you go. Yeah. Great, Mom. Great, Mom.
I want to take a moment and thank, I see Pamela Coombs-Banks. I've not seen her on before, so Pamela, we just thank you for being a part of us tonight. You have been commenting back and forth, and I just love the interaction. So Pamela, thank you so much for being with us this evening. And Curtis, I do see some of your comments as well, so I appreciate the prophet Curtis Savoy being on with us as well. If you're on with us, just take a moment and let us know you're in the chat. On both YouTube and Facebook. I see Miss Riley, who's one of our Wellians. She's on all the time. Mama Dent, who is commenting. Harrison, she definitely, I'm like, Mama, I'm gonna get a little jealous. I need to say something. I need to pontificate something very elegant here, because Mama Dent.
You're right by her.
You and I, we're gonna have to come with some great wisdom at some point, because she been clapping it up for Harrison. I'm starting to feel like Harrison taking all the cool points. I don't know how I feel about that, Mama Gail. I'm gonna say something smart and wise just to say it in a few minutes. But listen,
I'm just saying that is
Matt,
my Reverend Mother.
That's it. That's it. Matt, you've been quiet. Matt, I want you to hop in here. I want to ask you a question, my brother. Coming from a place, right? You come from across the seas. I'm sure, and I don't want to speak for you. I'm sure that you've had images of what you've seen before you got here of what American population looked like, what Spanish, Latino, Hispanic population looked like, what African American, Black population, what all these other things look like. And then you come over here, you meet new people, you end up getting married, right? To a Latina,
Spicy Latina
woman. Right, and I'm sure, right, because the images of us is like, especially Latino women, though they're sassy and them and Black women.
I'm a very demure person.
but
you can't say that with your face.
I'm shy.
But listen, Matt, I mean, walk with us, brother. Like, what has that been like for you? And to like come into this place, you met this amazing, beautiful woman. Something about her, if not everything about her, I'm sure from your words, got you to marry her. But what was that like walking through, having to figure out all the things you thought you knew, to now coming into this place of learning differently about, different folks.
Right. Yeah. I always get nervous when Americans ask what are people's overseas perceptions of America, because I just got to tell you, it's never good. Like, whatever your people say about you, it's
really? Wow.
Yeah, just like sort of the I think there's some interesting similarities as well in terms of when we talk about poverty, particularly from a kind of, I was thinking about your faith question as well, and someone mentioned this in the chat. Sorry, there's like a bunch of ideas in my head. I'm trying to pull them all together, but there's this idea that sort of whenever I've had been unemployed or not had as much money as I needed to survive, even in the short term. There was always this idea in the back of my mind that like somehow, like we're told growing up that like if you're successful, that's God's blessing, and if you're not, then you're doing something wrong. And I think certainly for a while when I finished grad school and I couldn't find a job for like 6 or 7 months, and like that's hard to come out of that and you're like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? And I think that like changed sort of how I thought about faith in this context, because I think I was still in that place of almost believing that like, God provides, and that's sort of the end of it. And then, kind of seeing this, and, certainly marrying AnaYelsi, like, that's not always true. And I think, we talk about this idea of like God providing, and it's usually people who have nice houses that talk about how God provides. And people who don't have the nice houses are often the ones saying that maybe God doesn't provide in quite the way that we all think he does. And I think there's, to sort of, to realize that like it's more complicated than that. And I think sort of that sort of brand of American Christianity as well, that's very much sort of pull yourself up by your bootstraps because that's what Jesus would do. Like, no, he wouldn't. Like, that's exactly not what Jesus did. Like,
Martin Luther King quoted that one, but pull up your bootstraps. But if you don't have your shoes on, what you gonna pull up on?
What you gonna do? Right.
I have grown to hate that phrase now because of how it's become such a political talking point. Like, I really hate hearing people say the whole pull yourself up by your own bootstraps thing. Like, I hate it with a passion.
And they won't let it go.
It's like, how do you do that if you don't know how to do that?
Yeah.
Right?
You don't know how, you don't have the shoes or the laces to do it.
That's right, you don't have it. So, yeah. So those questions that you were the poverty thing, those questions is so deep in layers. Those
Yeah.
questions on how do we help someone in poverty? How do we help someone with a mindset that's not where we are? Those questions on how can we help make change? Those are really important layers to those questions.
Well, but
So
but
much
to
of
that
it's
point, right? I mean, and Matt, I don't know if I'm cutting you off here, but Matt, I mean, all of you all have talked about, we've all talked about, right, what it has meant to come from point A to point B. Again, if you're joining us live for the first time, you're just joining the conversation. Thank you, Pam, for all the people you tagged, because Pamela is on it. Pamela, listen, we gotta have a conversation. I just want to meet you. But she's
Just found a new squad member.
who is that?
I said you just found a new squad member.
Yeah, definitely, Pamela, you need to be a part of the squad. But we've talked so much about, and even I know people will come back, and oftentimes people watch after the encounter as well. We've talked a little about faith. We've talked a little bit about faith. We talked about going from point A to point B. We talked about the journey. Miss Alease, you just kind of pulled me into this place that I want to go next. You talk about we just talk about people pulling themselves, the boots up out of the straps. Miss Nikki, you just talked about that. Is there a part of poverty that seems to me, I'm gonna make a statement and a question. There's a part of poverty that seems like it is almost intentionally, right, move forward. And I think a lot of people don't want to hear this. A lot of people want to talk about how much of a role the system. There's a systematic piece that plays into poverty. And people don't want to always talk about this, but from people who have experienced it in different ways, I'm just curious, does everyone on this panel think that there's a part of poverty that is sort of directed, right, by the system? Is there a systematic oppressive part of the system that plays into poverty? And I think people need to hear this, because there are folks that are in poverty right now that are one penny away from losing everything. Is there a part of this that is the system, or are we making that up out of thin air? I'm just curious.
Oh gosh,
Me
can I please speak
myself.
Miss Nikki.
No, Nikki, you can
No.
do. I'm just saying the system does help keep us down. To help keep you in the box. And if you don't know any better and have any other tools to get out of that box, that's what they're going to do with you. Okay? So to me, I had this one question, because you sent them to me, and I said, well, not down in the welfare system, because the welfare system is a great system if you use it to get on your feet. You can go to school, you can help your kids, you can get food stamps, but that's not there to be a way of life for you. That's a stepping stone so you could grow. Right?
Exactly.
Women, yes.
Exactly.
But the system has allowed you to be on welfare for 30 years. 30, 40 years and never come off of it. So to me, the system isn't doing their due diligence, because if you went there every 3 months, you remember back in the day, they used to come to your house, make sure you're feeding the kids right, make sure you're taking care of things. Now you just get it, they don't care, and different things like that. But if you find yourself in the same position for 30 years, don't you think that's something wrong with that? Nobody is accountable. You're on drugs. You're not feeding your children. You don't clothe them well. The schools have to take care of them, the community. So I think the system has done us wrong for women that's trying to, use it as a stepping stone to get better, to get educated and get some tools and some life skills and things like that. But when you don't make anyone accountable and they just receive a check and food stamps, sell them in the street, don't take care of the kids and stuff, I blame that on the system, because they're not checking behind to make sure these kids are going to be raised properly. That money is there to help feed the children, get them in school, clothe them. But a lot of the people are misusing the funds and just, I'm going to get high and let the kids run wild. It's no accountability. So I definitely blame the system for it.
So it's kind of like you're saying the system puts out some of the things that are needed, but does not do a great job of following up
And making that person accountable. If I give you $3,000, $1,500 a month, they need to have some financial training on how to shop, with the food stamps, or how to, take care of the kids. They need help in learning how to use that money right for the family.
Yeah.
Not where you just spend
Yeah.
it all in 1 week and you're broke the rest of the month. And, you know, they need education. You know, it's not their
Okay.
fault because they're in situations, but can we get some education or follow up or to teach them, you know, to help them, not just give them a check and let them do whatever. And then the kids end up suffering because now they're not going to school or they're in the streets. You know, it's just a whole system that goes, it doesn't work.
Man, the comments are right there with you. I mean, the comments, Pamela says, generational mindset, set it and forget it. No, the system is jacked up. Management and healthy choices. My
Yes.
godfather, Martin Smith, I know some people who are on welfare for 2 generations.
Yeah.
AnaYelsi, I'm gonna move over to you. No, Miss Nikki, I know you're about to say something too. So I've got 2. Okay, Miss Nikki, what were you about to say? Hop in here, Miss Nikki, because I was about to ask AnaYelsi a question right there with it. But Miss Nikki, you had something on the tip of your tongue.
I did. So to kind of coincide with Miss Elise's, you know, evaluation of the system, we also have to account for the way that the system is set up in terms of greed. And there's this capitalistic system that is set to only benefit, you know what I'm saying, the wealthy and not the people who are, you know what I'm saying, underneath that, and even middle class. What do I mean by that? So you have people like today, prime example, one of the main issues that's happening right now. You have people who are hardworking, who are not on welfare, who don't have government benefits, who have jobs and who are working and contributing to society, paying taxes, doing everything that they're supposed to do, but they are struggling to make ends meet because the powers that be in the system are using inflation as a way to increase their own profits. And they are literally gouging, like price gouging people, not because of inflation, but just because they can. And that's a part of the system that also needs to be addressed. It's not just, you know, the welfare system or the government handouts or the programs that's meant to actually help people in this country, but the systems that are in play, you know, that actually run the country. You know, like you have people right now in Florida who can't afford to live in their homes, not because they're not working, not because they're on welfare, not because, you know what I'm saying, they're doing anything wrong on their part. These people are literally becoming homeless or on the brink of homelessness because the system is gouging the prices so high that you can no longer afford them. Millennials are in
poverty. They're not from
and they're
poverty.
not from poverty.
Right.
They're not from poverty.
Yeah.
Millennials are in a position to where we are struggling to buy homes. Like you have the older generation who's like, you know, just buy a house and you guys should buy a house and you need to have a house in order to build generational wealth. Well, we're in a position to where we can't buy houses because single family homes nowadays are being built starting off at $500K. Mind you, you still got to put down 20% as a down payment for a conventional loan. Who has, you know, 50K just sitting there to put down for the house? Mind you, an additional $2,500 a month for a mortgage payment because that's the cost of a home nowadays. And, you know, the older generation's like, you know, well, you know, I bought my house when I was 30 and yeah, back then your house was $100,000. That same house today is $800,000. And we're not making enough to buy that house.
We're not making the
exactly.
Yeah.
We're not. And they're like, well, millennials today are making more money, you know, than we were. Yeah, but it's not the equivalent. It doesn't add up. The money you were making back then to afford that $100,000, $200,000 house is not the money that we're making today to afford that $500,000, $800,000 house. You know what I mean? So I think that's the other part of the system that we need to address as well.
Miss Nikki, I just want to say I'm a little jealous because Reverend Mama Dent has just now affirmed you as well. She said, "Preach, Miss Nikki, preach. Speak truth to power, Miss Nikki." So I'm a little jealous because I still haven't got my affirmation from Reverend Mama Dent yet. But okay, but we got a couple more minutes. I'm still working. But AnaYelsi, here's the thing. Miss Alease has spoken well about she talked about the system. She talked about right now that the accountability part missing. Miss Nikki then follows up and she talks a little bit about you know, being in a place where we're not even really given enough or we're not in a place where we're making enough to afford the prices that the system is placed in. But I want to come to you because you see the system in these different ways. I mean, you grew up and you talked about foster care. So there's a part of the system that you were in, right? Because that is the system, right? And then you come out of that, and then you deal with the system in a completely different way. Talk to us about the system from the perspective of the ways in which you have encountered the system.
Sure. So I have a couple of different thoughts, and I'm gonna try and make them concise. I apologize if I run on tangent. So my first is, coming out of the foster care system, and I mentioned, I used the word institutionalized earlier. People think about that when you hear about like prison life, but being in foster care system, especially if you're there for most of your childhood, like I was, it's a form of institutionalization. Like I spent most of my childhood with my toothbrush and razor being locked up in a cabinet. Like that's institutionalization. Like, can I get up and go and do this? Can I go there? Like, so being every action controlled and moved, being woken up in the middle of the night of like, put your stuff in the garbage bag, it's time to go, like, because you're getting moved again. So having very little control. So I have a lot of control issues as a result of my childhood. But I also because of my childhood, have been very interested in doing service and advocacy based work and organizing. And so that's what my whole career has been. So I've seen multiple iterations of the system on the side of someone who is being impacted by it and on the side of someone who's trying to impact it. And so this next part, Miss Alease, I hope I've earned a little goodwill because I'm gonna challenge a couple things.
Oh no, I've done my work in foster care too. I haven't spoke on that, but I've done my work there, and my heart goes out. That's
so you know how it is in there.
Yes.
It's a mess. But the thing I was thinking of, we asked this question of, does the system have a role in poverty? I think it absolutely does. And not only that, it has a role in the way in which we view it and view people who are caught in it, because the reality is there are a lot of parameters around anyone who's receiving any sort of service, any sort of those safety net services from the government. The rate of people who engage in, for example, drug use is actually very low, but there's a perception that it's incredibly high. There's a perception that most people living on the street are not working, when the reality is many of them are working and still live on the street. There's so many perceptions we have that if you're caught up in that situation, especially if it's not a temporary caught up, then you have a personal failing to account for. And this is not to absolve anyone. Like some folks do, I've worked with folks. I used to do intake for a shelter that provided a lot of different resources. And there was the occasional person I would meet who was like, I live on the streets. I can do what I want. Nobody tells me. I don't care. That's a very few and far between story. That is not the norm. The highest growing populations are women and children who are living in poverty and on the streets. Most people who are on the street are doing some form of labor and work. Most of us, were we to miss one, let alone two, one paycheck, your household would be thrown in disarray if you can keep your home at all. And I think remembering these sort of things help us to acknowledge yes, there's personal responsibility, but there's way more collective responsibility that has not been taken, of how we choose to view people who are struggling, of how we treat people who are struggling, and how we create the situations that allow them to be struggling in the first place.
And that's where we need the change at. It's not even viewing the people. It's like making the system work for the people and helping the people work the system the right way. Because it is a system that you can, like even the doctor, the best heart surgeon came from welfare, his mom. They will pay for your school, but it's just, we need to reach out. It still takes a village to help people. When you see them down, we need to lend a hand, or even some people don't want help. But if you just say, would you like my help? Just extend yourself. That's where, the questions that I'm asked, like, how can we make change? Well, do they want change? The ones that want change, let's try to help them get there. It's not going to be, it still takes our community to extend those olive branches to people that are less fortunate. We all been there. How did we get out? Do, olive branches, someone mentor, inspired, or whatever. Absolutely. But I don't view people in any other way besides, would you like my help in any area that I can provide for you? If you don't want it, it's fine. But there's a lot of people that would like the help, the understanding of how to come up and get some help. Because I did work inside the foster homes and understanding that the little girls I was helping, the mothers got so much help. And it kind of made their relationship stronger to share that common denominator of knowing just the basics, you know, never sleeping in a bed, just laying on the floor. They shared so many things of me that were heartfelt. I was poor, yes, but I wasn't there, you know. So it really opened my eyes up. And that's why I decided to go that direction, because I do want to help and extend that olive branch to anyone that want to help with what I can provide with my skill set.
Yeah. The thing I always try to keep in mind, and I'm so sorry, Ramon, go ahead.
Yeah,
Somebody got so
I'm
much to
just
say.
Sorry.
So Nikki, then I'm gonna come to you. Let me ask you this question. We're talking about the system. We've talked about the ways in which. So we all know that everybody deals with these things differently. And Nikki, I think this might flow into kind of where you might go. But so all of this stuff about the system, all of this stuff about, you know, people having to go through, not understanding sometimes they can't even make it through because there's more power against them. There's more oppressive power against them than what they even understand, because they don't even recognize sometimes that they're in poverty. Miss Nikki, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Kim Kardashian comes on Good Morning America, and she makes a comment. And her comment, and I'm going to say it, you know, I know this is a Christian show, but we keep it real here. Kim Kardashian, for those who are watching, comes on Good Morning America. She says, I have the best advice for women in business. He says, get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I know that there are a lot of people who might say it differently, but there are even some older folks who will go, all these young people do nowadays, they just want everybody to give them handouts. They just want everybody to nobody wants to work anymore. Nobody wants, and I think about all of you, Miss Nikki, you just kind of really got intense about, right, about the way that the system and the housing and the way that prices up. But here comes Kim Kardashian with her millions. And she says, look, nobody wants to work anymore. You're just lazy, basically. Then she comes back, she tries to clarify. She says, no, I'm talking about the working class women. I'm so curious, Miss Nikki. Listen, Harris's face. If I could just get but Miss Nikki, how does that make you feel? What's your reaction to Kim Kardashian's comment? You just need to work, girl. You just need to work.
Let me take a minute, because I gotta watch myself. I know we keep it real.
Oh, no judgment zone.
Because I have so much that I could say to that, but I'm gonna try to compact it. Like I hear that so much, especially in not just from people like Kim who have money, you know what I'm saying, who came from money. I mean, you were already from money because your dad was one of the most famous lawyers, you know what I'm saying, in the country, from the O.J. Simpson trial. So you already had money. And then your mom, being business savvy, capitalized off of your business so that y'all could continue to make money. So let's not go there about people who just don't want to work, coming from somebody who literally got famous without having to do much of nothing. Right. And I'm just going to leave that where that is. Everybody knows about Kim Kardashian. My thing about that is I hate hearing that from people like that, and from politicians like Joe Manchin, who decided that it was a good idea to cut off the child tax credit advancement because people are just going to use it on drugs. Yeah, pay attention to politics, people. I know they say church people and no. We need to pay attention to politics people who make laws that contribute to the system and the issues that we are dealing with. Joe Manchin single-handedly cut off the child tax credit because he said that people were using that money for drugs, even though the studies and the surveys and all the evidence in the world proved that it was the complete opposite. People were using it to pay their bills, feed their kids, buy clothes and necessities. Man living on a yacht, okay? He lives on a yacht. And he said that we don't deserve a child tax credit because you're using it on drugs. Anyways, my point with that is, get out of that mindset. It's not about working hard, but this is where, to Miss Alease's point, this is the importance of church community. This is what the church was built for, to build that community so that we could help each other, bring each other up. It's not about you get money, I got mine, so you need to figure out how to get yours. No, it's I got mine, let me help you to get yours
Help
too.
you.
Yeah.
You're supposed to grab each other by
Yes.
the hand and pull everybody up. It is a ladder. I move up
Yeah.
one rung, I pull you up with me. I move up the next rung, I pull you up with
Yes.
me. It's not a selfish type of thing where it's just all about me, me, me. That is the complete antithesis of what the church community was supposed to be about. So yes,
Right.
we are supposed to come together. Like, look at Black Wall Street before it was completely decimated.
Mm.
This was a community of Black people who were some of the most successful and richest
Thriving.
Black people in the nation, because they were circulating their dollars amongst their own community and their own businesses. And that's how we bring ourselves out of poverty. That's how we bring up our communities. That's how we go back to these lower income communities, and we make that change. But we have to come together to do it. As long as we continue to be divided in this mindset and all these separations of church, and the church continues to be divided on these stupid issues, and we can't come together to be the true function of what we were initially supposed to be. Because if you pay attention to the church in the Bible, that's what they did. Tithes and offerings weren't meant to pay the bills at the building and to pay the priests and everything. That was a part of it. But a major portion of our church was to build the community and to bring everybody who had lack to make them without lack. That is what we need to focus on today. That is what our church community is about today, and what it should be about today, instead of what it's been about. And that's where we have failed as the church. I'm gonna stop now because
So if I can ask, so if I can ask, then, and I guess for us, and I know we pushing time. Oh God, we're pushing.
Yeah.
But not like this is good. So, no. You substantive conversation. Like, y'all are talking good tonight. But I'm gonna ask then, to that end, what is you all's advice for those who are struggling to make it out of poverty? For those who are like stuck in it right now, because it's easy to say, "Oh, the Lord's gonna make a way." Now, again, for someone who grew up in a Christian household, maybe a little less difficult, but still a complex thing to wrestle with, stuff you can't see.
That's true.
Things that are not right in front of us, we have a tendency to fight. It's hard for us to grasp some of those things. Sometimes it's hard for us to see God in our stuff. So how can we see God in this stuff? How can we make it out of this impoverished state?
I can speak to that. So I feel like there's two parts. I think for the individual who's in the midst of struggling with poverty or just financial strain, the major thing, honestly, is finding at least a few people in your life that you can be wholly honest with about, this is where I am. These are the limitations it's created for me. This is the struggle it's created for me. And talk about ways that, like, it doesn't mean that they have to be able to fix or fill that need, but to come alongside you in the midst of it. You both, Miss Alease and Harrison, talked about family and the importance that had, even when struggling. Community relationship is crucial. I think when you're struggling that hard, and I say this from experience, you try to hide as much of it as possible. I said I had plenty of times where I had no lights and no running water and nobody knew, because I didn't tell anybody. Not because I didn't care, but because you don't assume that about people. And I wasn't going to come out and announce it because I was embarrassed. Finding somebody to share with, because the weight of that burden is exhausting. And that's part of why it's so hard to get out of poverty. It is truly exhausting. You cannot think creatively. You cannot think big picture. You cannot think about tomorrow because you are so damn tired and scared all of the time. Exactly. And so that's why when people are like, well, it's been a generation or it's been years. I'm like, yeah, because it is a chokehold. When it gets a hold of you, it gets a chokehold.
And mental health is real too. The mental health part of it.
Absolutely.
That's major in our community. The depression and the anger and the struggle is real. So to me, if I could piggyback on that, I would like to say that if you walk by a young lady and you see, I'm more for the mothers and children, and I'm sorry, it's not about, I do help the brothers too. But when I see the kids, that's my heart, to help feed the children and help them. But if you see a young lady and you say, is there anything I can help you with? If she doesn't want it, then you go to the next one. We see it, but people run away from people.
Okay, so now, she's with the squad now. Listen, she's got a mugshot like the rest of us.
There we go. Well, the only other I'll say this last bit while she's coming back. The only part I was going to say that's more for the community. Nikki, I love what you were saying about being aware and about whether it's voting or just being civically engaged. Or like the example I think of is anytime someone complains about money going into the system, the amount our military alone receives every year is so terrifyingly astronomical.
My thing keeps going out. Must be because I'm in the closet. But no, we can go on and on and on. I love you guys. I can't say enough. Want to do so much, but if we could all just reach out and help just one a month, it's going to make a difference. Just be a mentor to someone. You can't save the world, but you can certainly help save some people and help them and show them another way, and that's just what we all need to do as people. It's just reach out to the ones less fortunate.
AnaYelsi, I want to let you finish, and I'm sorry, but I got to say this, Miss Alease, when you froze, I talked about your mugshot. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I need the people to know we are honest people, okay? I don't talk about nobody behind their back. I say it to your face. I talked about your mugshot. It was good, though. You with the rest of us. Join the crowd,
We all have one, so it's okay.
Community. No, it was good. We appreciate you.
Oh, guys, see y'all. But anyway, so I'm ecstatic. I'm happy to be here, and it's just that question of what it is so serious. It could go on and on and on. It's so layered. That's but just let's all as people just try to help somebody. Just try to reach out to someone. Be a mentor. Just reach out, because the embarrassment of not letting people know your situation, they're already embarrassed or they have pride. But if you open the dialogue and you say, hey, is there anything I could do? Let me invite you to the church service. Yes. Whatever. Just reach out, because they're already feeling like you're looking at them less than, So we have to understand the ones that are, up, not even up here, but just knew how to get out and make money and, be successful. We need to go back now and lend a helping hand. We do. It's community. It's all about the community.
Absolutely. AnaYelsi, you were about to make a point about the military budget and stuff, which I think I'm rocking right there with you.
Well, what I was going to say is that's like, you think about, that's why I always am like, when people are complaining about how much money the system gives to folks struggling, I'm like, it is nothing compared to what our military receives every year. But if you will think about that on a more localized level, a really good recent example that I'm still furious about, because like the third time Matt's had to hear me talk about this, is there was the Excluded Workers campaign right here in DC. And this was to receive emergency COVID-related funding for the folks who are tips-based or pay under the table or undocumented, sex workers, like all of these folks who didn't get stimulus checks and things like the rest of us did. And there was, we went and participated in protests. I know folks who went and gave testimonies, campaigns for months. The response to that was for Mayor Bowser to award a minuscule amount to the excluded workers and millions to the Metro PD, even though we already have the richest police department in the country. Somehow they needed millions upon millions, like tens of millions more. But excluded workers who are literally starving and losing their homes did not receive that money. So that's how you can engage it if you're not in poverty but want to. Vote.
And to the point, they just requested an increase to the military budget.
Yes,
so
nerve.
Well, to bring about change, you got to get out there and show up at the government office. You got to protest. Absolutely. You got to get out there and fight for it. You got to show up at the courts. You got to do it. That's the only way we can make changes on the books of the law.
And do what you can. If you can't vote, I can't vote. I go to a protest.
Yeah, you can go to whatever you can do to make change and let them know we show up and show out for our people. You have to show up. You have to show up.
We have a Wellian that's in that fight, Mr. Sean Michael Wilson. Shout out.
So I I was just about to say thank you, Nikki, for that. Debbie, who's a part of our squad, she says, learn to help everyone, stop stepping on people around you just so you can get ahead. Sean Michael Wilson, who is running for District 7 Board of Education. He is on tonight, and this was very good for him. It's a sensitive subject for him because he grew up also a product of foster care, and is out there right now trying to fight the battle to make the education system better for our children. So, Sean, kudos to you for what you're doing. Listen, tonight has been fire fueled. Mama Dent says, Pastor Ray, the well is on fire tonight. And she definitely sends her love. I can't thank y'all enough for this conversation. What I do want to just make sure I reemphasize is we conclude, because I love the Amplify Network, and I want to give a shout out to them. A shout out to Miss Jackie, who's not feeling the best this evening, so I just thank her for still producing and keeping this up. But listen, what I hear, and Sean Michael Wilson, who shares his website, you can follow him there. What I think I hear from everyone as we close is this, people, if you're dealing with something where you don't feel like you have made it to the best of your ability, or you're in a place where you're poorer or more in poverty than what you would like to be, what I think you see is the example of the folks who are able to climb up out of the ladder with God's help, with faith. People who have stayed focused despite what's going on. I want you to know that there is never a time in life that you should just give up. There is never a time in life that you should just throw in the towel, because if you're here, we talk about the well, we've got the 5 P's, but I promise you, promise is one of our P's, that there is purpose in your life. If you're alive, God absolutely has purpose for your life. And I want to just start there, because people, you mentioned mental health. If you're dealing with mental health, go get help. Right? That is not a place that you have to stay. And do not be ashamed. I'm not saying that you need to go tell everyone, but listen, find someone. There are programs that you can go to. And we at The Well want to highlight those programs often. And we'll do even a better job of that. Miss Nikki always shares as much as she can. We don't always do it as much as we should, but we try to make sure that every Monday is a mental health check-in day. So there's some things there that you can see. And there are oftentimes numbers that we share. Call. Get the help that you need. And then stay focused and believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, find someone who does. Because I promise you, there are people who will walk with you down that road. So you don't have to do it by yourself. If you feel like you are, reach out to us at The Well. I promise you, there are plenty of us who are on this squad. Miss Nikki, AnaYelsi, Matt, Minister Morrow, myself, and I believe even Miss Alease will help. If we know that there's someone who needs that support, we are willing. You can start with us. We are willing to help you get through it. And I promise you, you've heard stories of people who have not had to stay in poverty because God has blessed them. They have moved between them, their faith, and God. They have moved up to a place where they are now in a better position. And so we want to encourage you tonight. This month has been all about rising above those places that you don't think you can get out of. I promise you, if you're in the dark, we can help you to get to the light. And lastly, I just want to share this. We are people of faith. So every week, we don't just do this because we want to do it. We do it because we believe there's a calling on us to go out and help people. And we want to prove to you that good people are still in this world, that people that love God, but people that love you are still in this world. And listen, above us, there is a God that we serve that's even greater. We want to introduce to you the fact that this is the type of church that's going to keep it real. So yeah, you heard me earlier. I commented and I remarked what Kim Kardashian said. I said it straight like she said it. Don't focus on what I said or what I didn't say. Focus on the fact that we keep it real. You know what I mean? And if you're looking for a community of folks that will just keep it real, let's just start there. This is the community we want you to be a part of. So listen, there are a couple of things that I just want to share with you on how you can be a part of this community. If you want to know more about that God that we've been talking about, reach out to us. You can email us. That email is wearetheweldc@gmail.com. wearetheweldc@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us because we're part of the One Love Life Center nonprofit 501c3 at info@onelovelifecenter.org. info@onelovelifecenter.org. And follow us on our social media platforms. You're already a part. You watch this on Facebook, so @Encounter the Well. You can join us on Instagram @Encounter the Well. They're both there for you to preview. Let us know how we can. What do you want us to talk about? There's so much more we're willing to talk about and talk about it with you. follow our website, www.encounterthewell.org, and you can reach out even there. Now, it takes a lot to keep this program going. So we also want to invite you to partner with us in other ways. If you want to make a contribution, if you want to invest in this type of ministry and this type of community, well, you can do that also by texting any dollar amount to the numbers 84321, just like it is in the picture. You can send us that $100, that $500 you've been saving to put towards something that will go for the better of the community. You can send it to us right there. And even if it's $5 or $1, we'll receive it. And we promise you, we want to share that money with the community. So it's not just about us, but it's about reaching back into the community and doing the greater good. Listen, tonight has been a blessed night. It's been an amazing night. Miss Alease, oh my God, we have a new family member, and I am so ecstatic that you're a part of
Thank
our
you for
family
having
now.
me. I enjoyed you
Yes.
guys so much. Thank you so much.
Miss Alease, now, are there ways that you want people to follow you? If they want to get in touch with you, do you offer that? And if not, they can just go ahead through us. And we can
I
get in
just
touch
wanted to
with
get
you.
in touch with you guys. I'm going to be pushing that through my platform. I just want to send everything you guys' way so we can really see how many people we can help. I'm a part of all of that. And I want it just to all come directly to you. But I will post on my platforms to bring that awareness. That's what I'm going to do. But I don't need
Awesome.
that. I need you guys. I need to put you guys on the forefront, and I'm going to do that on my platform.
Well, listen,
Amen
God,
to
you done
that.
messed up. God done sent us,
That's what
God
I'm
done
gonna
sent
do.
us a momager. That's what LA Love the Boss calls her, a momager. So
Now
listen,
we
I know
do
she
have
got
a
some amazing.
surprise for Mother's Day coming out for you guys.
Ooh.
We do have a Mother's Day tribute, so stay tuned. I'll send it to the pastor.
Right.
He'll definitely share it with you. But this was a beautiful thing, and I'm definitely gonna bring much awareness to your program. I love it.
Thank you.
So much,
Awesome.
Mama.
Awesome. Thank you.
AnaYelsi Matt, of course, squad representing. Appreciate you guys. AnaYelsi, you know, you do such amazing humanitarian work. Just share always. I always want to make sure you share with people. Now, we also have a new way of getting in touch with AnaYelsi as well. So we'll share that. But then, AnaYelsi, how can people, if they want to reach out to you, how can they do so?
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to reach me. So my website is just my first name, AnaYelsi.com. And I am on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all the things. I tried Snapchat, but it turns out I'm too old. I just can't do it. But the rest of it, I am there. But more importantly, while you're giving us a second, if this conversation, connected somewhere for you, our justice series is starting next month, our interrupting violence series, which is a well initiative, and the first one is going to be on May 22nd at Mr. Henry's, and the well will share details, but keep an eye out because it's going to be 4 different months, and each one is going to be talking about education, housing, reducing harm reduction, and what was the fourth one?
Criminal justice.
Oh, and criminal justice, alternatives to the criminal justice system. So a lot of it connects to this conversation around systems and poverty and how do we make an impact. And that's my plug for that.
Great.
Absolutely. So many great things coming up. Minister Nikki and Minister Morrow, anything last words?
Be blessed, everybody. And again, reach out to us if y'all need anything. Y'all can find me on Instagram. I have a Facebook, but I don't be on there that much. I'm gonna just be honest. Outside of the well, I don't be on Facebook. I know I should do better with my social media presence now that the well is here. But find me on Instagram. At Latay Nikki J, LATAYNIKKIJ, and you can reach me through there and through the well. that's all.
And I'll also share her email with us is Nikki NIKKI at onelovelifecenter.org. Minister Harrison, if you'll just close us out, man, I'll yield to you.
Listen, it's been a great night. Y'all was talking good tonight. What is going on? Like y'all was in there for real. Great, substantive. I can't say it enough. Substantive, and I think important conversation to have. And I mentioned this in the comment, and I'll conclude here, and I'm going to read it so I don't ramble. Ricky Smiley makes a joke that as black people, right? So he was talking about his comedy show. He says, black people, we don't go to grandma's house. We get dropped off over there. And as comical as it was in a moment, his sentiment was, I think, speaking to something that we talked about tonight. It was that in my case, in Harrison's context, can't speak for everyone, my mother, Mary, she was going to work. So we knew like she was going to do something, and we didn't miss a beat because we had a community around us. So I think the biggest takeaway here tonight is I pray that, and informally praying that, Father, you know, that you would help us to, one, see us the way that you see us, the way that God sees us. God sits where we don't sit, so he sees inevitably what we don't see. So the prayer is not that we just acknowledge. So the first step, right, acknowledge where we are truly. God can't bless where you pretend to be, right? Say it all the time. Bless where you are. So one, that we can acknowledge, one, where we are. That we can begin to see ourselves in a different light, and then that we can have a community around us to pull us out of a place if those two things cannot happen. That God will be our safety net. And that's our prayer tonight. I pray safety and security over all of our homes, over our mental spaces, over our eye and ear gates, over our friends, family, and loved ones. And Father, encourage us and remind us that everything attached to us wins. Show your face strong to us again. Let us change somebody else's life and in turn change us. In Jesus' name we pray this prayer, and we conclude this time. We say thank God.
Amen. Amen.
Right. Should we stay on?
Thanks,
You said
Jackie.
you need
We
to
love
chat
you.
with us? Stay on for a second.
We love y'all.